Worry road leads to German chocolate cake, even though that's delicious. And yesterday I planned it on purpose today, and I knew that the scale was going to go up this morning, but then I wouldn't go back to there. So I'm actually going to share that example later. Okay, so here we are. Why are you what you weigh now? I want you to, oh, she helped you. Okay, good. I want you to tell me, why do you weigh what you weigh now? And you're not allowed to say it was your mother-in-law bringing you pies. You're not allowed to say that. Oh yes, I figured it out while having to rethread my serger, which I had planned on having to do. Yes, sergers, rethreading sergers is like an Olympic sport. I'm not kidding you. It's ridiculous. One time I had a girl come to my house because she was like, I have the wrong color thread for the project I need. It is easier for me to drive 15 minutes, use your serger, than for her to try to figure out how to rethread her serger. Is that not hilarious or what? So I totally get it. And it's the same thing with like so many things in life. And because I ate food, I overate food knowingly, and yet I did it. Yes. Right? We like get in our car and we go to Dairy Queen and get a blizzard because we're so mad. And we're like, I deserve this. This is terrible. Right? We do this to ourselves. And I want to say, we didn't do it on purpose. We're not consciously trying to do this on purpose. And so this is really important. And so I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to show you, I made it's really fun webinar. I just love you all so much. All right. So I'm talking about the 5 ways to feel empowered around food choices to lose weight now, because, you know, we can talk about these things, talk is cheap, right? It's like, okay, show me the money. Show me how I can really make a difference. Show me what really is going to impact my life. That is what I want. So you have relied on experts to tell you what to eat. You relied on them to tell you what to eat, when to eat it. And so because you've now depended on all these people, it feels terrible. It feels so scary. It feels like you can't be trusted. And it feels like the alternative is just to give up. Okay. But then that feels terrible too, right? So no wonder diet's like a swear word. It feels terrible. Either way, if you quit, it's gonna bite you in the butt. But if you don't, it's still gonna bite you, right? It feels terrible. All right. Don't worry, Deb. I will send all these to you as well. So I've created this training so that you can no longer feel scared or discouraged with weight. And in fact, one of the things that I want to share with you right now is that you don't have to lose any weight right now to feel better about yourself. I promise you. Okay. So what you want, and we actually talked about this in our class this morning, is you want to go to the grocery store and not be overwhelmed with temptations. You want to walk in a guild meeting and not fuss about what other people think of you, and then pretend you don't care. You want to play with your kids or your grandkids, right? You know, Linda just moved all the way to Texas for that sweet little granddaughter or grandniece. Is it, no, great granddaughter? Yes, it's so exciting. You know, you want to be able to play with her and go to the park and keep up all the energy with everyone. You want to go to dinner with friends and enjoy time. You don't want to be embarrassed, or you don't want to second guess yourself with the comments that you make and get distracted by that. You want to decide to make a project and know that you will finish it. You want to go to bed knowing that you had a good day, and there's parts of your day that weren't so good, right? And that doesn't make your day terrible and horrible. And it doesn't mean anything about you. Okay. You want to look in a mirror and be proud of who you see instead of avoiding mirrors at all costs. You want to be able to say no without feeling guilty, right? My friend yesterday told me that her son was like, hey, I need you to babysit these kids. And she's like, nope, you can get a daycare for 2 weeks. And he's a single dad. And she's like, I'm working at not feeling guilty. And I was like, good for you. Good boundaries. Be able to do errands without having to buy a treat for yourself. Not treat yourself like a dog. Not get sucked into watching TV when you really want to sew. Not feel like, you know, you need to rescue others, and then not feel resentful or bitter or angry about your relationships. You want to believe that that your life is not broken and that it's not past the point of repair. That is a huge one. And I just know how exciting it is when you can figure that out. You want to feel calm when conflict comes up. You want not to get your hopes dashed over and over when they try something new. You want to have coping tools that are easy to use instead of using food all the time to numb yourself. And you don't want to give power to the mean girl who wrote that nasty comment about being overweight in your yearbook, or even to the well-meaning sister who commented about your weight. So this is what you want. Okay. Okay. No worries. You can do whatever you want, Deborah. All good. Yeah. So that's what you want. And the problem is what you've been doing to get that is you're looking for experts to follow. You follow their instructions to the T. You speak harshly to yourself to stay in line. You compare yourself to others and compare yourself to your past self even, right? You try out what other people are doing and you use a lot of willpower to accomplish your goals. Willpower feels terrible and awful. It is not sustainable. It is not something you're going to want to do forever. So the reason that doesn't work is that you don't learn to have your own wisdom. You don't learn your own voice. You aren't in integrity with who you are, right? You're like, I don't even know who I am. You don't have your own foundation to build on. You're constantly second guessing yourself. And then this is something that I see some of my clients, and they've fallen into this, is that they now feel like an imposter. So they aren't feeling authentically who they are. Right. And this is a problem especially if you're that good student person that's like, I just want to be the good student, just tell me what to do and I'll just do it. So that's the problem with diets, right? They're always telling you, you're always like, oh no, let me just be a good student. I'll just follow the rules. It's okay. I'll be fine. That feels terrible. All right. And so when you're falling into that, then you don't, yeah. So, and then I'll keep going. You don't really know who you are because you're spending so much time trying to remember who you are trying to be. You're like, oh yeah, what did I say? What was that line? Who was I supposed to be like? Who was I trying to be like? Right. And then you don't even know who you really are. And you just get confused with all these other people. You are the only one who can control your own thoughts and emotions that come into your own brain. Now, remember, our brains, and especially if we're super creative, can offer us 60 to 100,000 thoughts a day. And so that's a lot of thoughts that you have to go through. And 95% of those thoughts are subconscious. They go on autopilot. So what you need to do, and these are the 5 steps, okay? So the first one, and I'm going to go over each one of them. Don't you worry. You're going to connect with yourself. So we're going to go along with the GPS philosophy that I shared in the Breaking Up with Food. And we're going to go a little bit into that. And for some of you who just heard that last week, you can ask me any question, and this is your opportunity. Number 2, decide who you want to be. You decide your own criteria. You get to decide. Isn't that fun? You don't have to wait for anybody to tell you anything. You can just be who you want to be. It's way more fun, I promise. Okay. Number 3 is we're going to embrace the 50-50. Number 4 is we're going to monitor our self-talk. And we're going to make some non-negotiables today. Are you guys ready? You're going to be really nice to yourself. All right. You're going to learn how to be really nice in a very kind and loving way. Number 4, I said that one. Monitor your self-talk and make it non-negotiable. And then 5, celebrate your wins and make it safe to be you and to feel great. And in the month of July, we're going to be focusing on creating weight loss, being a lot more chill. And we're going to actually go into the nervous system. And we're going to learn how to recognize when we're going into that fight, flight, or freeze mode, and learning how to bring ourselves back. So this is number 1. So number 1 is we're going to learn to connect with ourselves. And connecting with ourselves, this is the part that I want all of you to imagine. You're putting in the GPS, you're going on a trip, And or you're doing errands and you're thinking, what's the most efficient and effective way to do these errands, especially now with the gas prices being like even more crazy than we've ever seen in our lifetime. And so the GPS is not going to say, what's wrong with you? Why don't you know how to get there? And or what, how did you get here? This is a terrible part of town. Why would you even come here? Or like, you're at the fabric store again. What's wrong with you? Or, oh my goodness, look at this bakery. Why do you keep coming here? When are you going to have self-control? Okay. The GPS never judges you on where you're at. Okay. Just like take a breath with that. So when you step on the scale, this is like the question I asked you. When you step on the scale is not saying anything. The scale literally is just showing you what your body's gravity is at that moment. So it's so fun because you could go for a bike ride for an hour and you can come back on the scale and the scale can change because it's like, oh, you used up some of your energy. You weigh less. So the scale doesn't judge you. The scale literally just tells you what it is. And that's the same thing with GPS. Now, the other thing that's fun about the GPS is it will say, okay, where do you want to go? So you just have to put in where you want to go. And then not only does it tell you that, but it says, do you want to walk to get there? Do you want to drive? Do you want to ride a bicycle? Do you like, how are you going to get there? And then the GPS also does this other cool thing that says they're having road construction on that route. So because of that issue, because of that circumstance, I think it's better for you to go this way. All right. So the GPS gives you all these different options. And when you spend all your time avoiding this question, you're not going to, the GPS won't work. It can't tell you where to go if you're not telling it where you're at. So one of the misconceptions that I hear about weight loss and that I myself really struggled with I thought, if I accept myself at 210 pounds, then I'm just going to like let myself go. I'm just going to be eating Oreos. I'm just going to get the dill pickle chips. I'm just going to be watching lots of movies and I'm just going to keep putting more and more weight on. Who thinks that? So many people think that. Like, if I just accept how I am, I'm just going to keep gaining all this weight. Why is that not true? Who can tell me? Why is that absolutely not true? You can put it in the chat. You can raise your hand. The more you accept yourself, the more you're going to lose weight. I promise you. Why? Okay, I can't see everybody. What do you think? Sue, what do you think?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Sorry. So I guess what I would say is if we don't accept ourselves, and we're fighting against who we are, then we don't care about ourselves as much.
Yeah.
And when we don't care about ourselves as much, that's when we kind of throw caution to the wind and say, I don't care. I'm going to eat the Oreos. I'm going to eat the chips. I'm going to do whatever, because I don't care enough about me to take care of me.
Yeah. So we don't value ourselves.
We don't value ourselves. So if we like, and you've used this example many times, and it's one for me that just really resonates, that, you know, if we, whether it's like our child or our grandchild, or like in my case where I worked with children for many years, we want the best for them. And, you know, and like I have my granddaughters this week. They're constantly hungry. And it's like, Nana, can I have some of this? Can I have some of this? And we do special treats. Like I bought a box of Lucky Charms. they get a little bit of Lucky Charms for one snack. Because I know that's a special treat for them. And they don't always have it at home, and it's fine. But, it's like, oh, can we have more? Can we have more? No, because it's not good for you. And because I care about you, and I really don't like it when you're just running on pure sugar. So, yeah, so when we really care about ourselves and our bodies, then we make choices to take care of them.
Perfect. So if we don't value ourselves, we give up on ourselves. We hide behind food. We also have this crazy identity piece.
Yeah.
Like we qualify ourselves in that way. There's lots of reasons.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Sue. All right. I was typing, but Sue answered it so fully. Oh, awesome. Okay. So another part about if we accept ourselves now, what starts happening? Oh, Linda, do you have a comment? Oh, okay. I thought I saw your hand up. Because the other thing is, if I accept myself how it is, I actually start realizing these patterns of behavior. So even like today with the webinar, I could have started going down this road of like, what's wrong with you, like those like if you suffer from low self-esteem or whatever, you can't figure out the tech. What's wrong, Dara? You've been doing this for 2 years and still figured out the tech. Like just speaking to yourself like in a not a nice way. So when you accept that, oh yeah, sometimes I speak to myself like a jerk. Sometimes I'm really unkind, and I sometimes most often I use food as a way to numb myself, right? Like hide, another way of saying we also numb because we don't want to feel feelings. We don't know how to feel them. And truthfully, we weren't really taught. So, I mean, no wonder that's really hard. Okay. All right. So when you accept yourself as you are, you're able to realize, oh yeah, so these are the things that I do. Okay. And now I get to decide, do I want to still do that? Or do I want to try something new? I just get to decide. All right. So now you don't have to be afraid of being a human, and you don't have to be afraid of trying new things. Okay. So number 2 is you're going to decide who you want to be. And I found the quote finally, and I shared it today in class, but your personality is what creates your personal reality. Isn't that amazing? So you create your own personality. So here, for example, so yesterday I've never made the German cake frosting from scratch before. I said that 4 times now. People are like, "Okay, stop talking about the German cake, Dara." But this was the example. So I decided to make this, and I was up 3 pounds this morning. So this is where that personal reality and personal personality comes in. So I could say, oh yeah, look at me, up 3 pounds in 1 day. So I could say, well, I might as well just eat it for breakfast. I might as well just eat it for lunch. No matter what I do, I'm always going to go back to gaining weight on a Monday morning. So that could be my reality. I could decide that that'd be my reality. Or I could be like, yeah, I know when I plan a joy eat, sometimes my weight is up 2 or 3 pounds, and today is one of those days. And then I get to just decide, do I want to not eat the planned, like, I didn't plan to eat any more German cake today. So am I not going to eat it? Or what's my choice? All right. So if that's what you always would say, nothing's ever going to change, what's the big deal? You're not worth it. You'll just keep eating that food, and you'll just keep breaking trust with yourself. And when I lived in Ontario, I used to plant a garden, and we had a lot of clay where I lived. And the thing with clay, it was just so solid. And if you put little bits of sand in the clay, the sand works its way through the clay and it starts breaking it up into smaller places. And this is what starts happening when you accept your reality. It will start, like, you can start questioning your thoughts, and that can break up your reality, and you can start creating the reality that you want, the new reality that you're working towards. And that's why there's women in my program who have lost the weight that they have, is because they've just decided that they are going to have a new personal reality. Okay, that's why, because they're putting the sand and it's going to break on the clay, and they're going to start changing the way that they approach themselves. And this is what I want for all of you. Okay. All right. Number 3. So we're going to embrace the 50-50. Now, in order to have a balanced life, we need to have the contrast. So in order to feel pain, you need to feel no pain. Often I don't think I'm depressed about my life, but I'm depressed about my weight and how it affects my life. Totally. So it's only your thoughts about your weight that cause you to feel depressed. Because when you feel depressed, is it because you feel like you can't get out of it? There's no relief. There's no change. So you can answer that there, or you can raise your hand, whatever you feel most comfortable doing. Yeah. So that's why, like in July for the Monday focus, we're really going to learn how to embrace being in our body and allowing that discomfort, and like learning like some breathing, learning some ways of switching your thinking, learning how to really focus on creating that new reality. But I'm calling it like how to be more chill with yourself, because the more relaxed you are, the more at ease you are, the more success you're going to have. So even today, when my webinar was all mixed up, I was able to just process that feeling of like, oh my goodness, all these women are wanting to be here. It's so amazing. And I messed up. I don't know how, but I was able to just take some breaths and be like, okay, what am I going to do about this? And I was able to just switch gears and like solve that problem and not get so overwhelmed by it. Okay. So, but I had to feel that negative, and it felt terrible, you guys. It felt awful. My stomach was like a really heavy grossness. And then my chest was like super heavy. My face was so red. Talk about menopause flashes, right? I was just like, oh, who am I to think I could run this business? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. We do the same thing with food. We do the same thing with any new goal we're going to have. So in order to see light, we need to see dark. There's the contrast. In order to feel sad, you're going to feel happy. There, you need to have a contrast. In order to feel disappointed, you need to feel excitement. There's that contrast. In order to feel hope, you need to feel hopeless. We need to have the contrast. All right. So that is the 50-50. Now, one of the words of caution with the 50-50 rule is there are emotions that kind of feel like they're negative, but you're not. So for example, gossiping, it feels kind of powerful. It kind of feels good, but it's like bad. And if you don't allow yourself to feel those negative emotions, then you're so busy gossiping. So now what's happening is you're adding to the negative pile without even processing it. So there are emotions. So like, let's say, for example, you have a friend and she's always going over the top. And maybe you feel really insecure around her, but you don't want to deal with feeling insecure when you're around this friend. So then you go to other friends and you're like, can you believe she did that? Can you believe that she had to plant those flowers so that she could have those bouquets for the social, and that she could show us all up or something, right? So instead of just feeling like, wow, I feel really insecure around her, now you're gossiping and you're trying to make things better, make yourself feel better. And because it feels kind of powerful, because other people will be like, yeah, can you believe it? Do you see what I mean about that? And so instead of just letting yourself feel like, yeah, sometimes I feel insecure around someone who's really accomplished growing flowers and they can put things together so quickly. All right. All right. So in life, so let's say something like wonderful, like my daughter's grad on Saturday. It was so exciting, you guys. I wore my grad dress. I got to see my daughter just glow. Like it was so fun. But guess what else happened? My only daughter is graduated. I will never have that experience again. And, I went to go to do my volunteering and I was going to drive her. She's like, no, mom, it's okay. I'll just go. I'll find another way. Oh, my heart was like breaking, right? Like there was so much sadness in that day too, but it was all, like it's all part of the parcel of feeling so much joy. And then it was a little bit crazy volunteering. The kids started throwing foods at each other. And so we were like bussing all the tables. Like there was lots of, whatever. But because I was able to just be present in all of it, I was able to feel all of the emotions. I was able to feel all the love. I was able to feel all the fun instead of being numbed out. Okay. So, number 4, monitor your self-talk and make it non-negotiable. If you wouldn't say it to your friend, you wouldn't say it to you. So I'm going to share a quick story. My grandma was 91 when she passed away, and she was in a lot of pain, and she wasn't feeling that great. She had been married to my grandpa for like 68 years. And when he passed, she just really struggled. She felt really lonely. And one day I made her a crocheted blanket out of yarn that she had given me. And it was really bright. It was like neon, like yellow and pink and green and orange. So, and I didn't know how to crochet the squares together. So my grandma said to me, she phoned me and she said, oh, Dara, who taught you how to sew those squares together? I said, no one, Grandma. I just kind of figured it out. She goes, well, it was awful. I had to unpick the whole thing and re-sew all the squares and my hands are aching and I just feel so terrible. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, Grandma. I was just doing this just to be nice. And I'm really sorry that happened. And I did feel genuinely sad about it. I said, well, maybe the next time I come to visit, you can teach me how to crochet the squares together. That would be awesome. And I actually didn't take it personally at all. I kind of laughed a little bit because my grandma, she has a little bit of an edge to her, but I kind of just accepted that. And so I hung up the phone, and like within, I think about 3 minutes later, she calls me back and she said, oh, Dara, I can't believe I spoke to you that way. If anyone would have spoken to me like that, I would never expect them to speak to me again. That was awful. I'm so, so sorry. So I often think about that story because we all have to make decisions about how are we going to speak to ourselves. And if we wouldn't speak to someone else that way, we have got to decide right now, right now, I will never speak to myself that way. I'm not going to do it. And what's going to help you with that is I need you to know these 3 truths. Your worth was already decided. The day you were born, your worth was already set. You don't have to earn or deserve your worth from anybody. You don't. And so when you know that, you don't have to be worried or upset. I'm responsible for this young women's camp. There's going to be about 55 young women and about 15 leaders, and it's starting this Wednesday, so in 2 days. And today I got an email from one of the moms who was just so irate that we're doing something different that she thought we were doing. And it's always so interesting because every year when I plan this, there's always something, at least 5 things actually that I'm doing or not doing that make her so upset. And it's just so fun for me every year. It just makes it easier and easier for me just to love her more and to learn how to have boundaries and to learn how to say whatever it is I want to say from a place of like, this woman is worthy. She's wonderful and beautiful. She's totally allowed to have think whatever she wants to think. And I'm allowed to do that too. It's so freeing. Okay. And now the next part about that, next rule is you get to decide what makes life more enjoyable for you. So if being thin is more enjoyable than being overweight, then you just get to do that. You just decide what's more fun. What's going to be more fun in life? Is it going to be more fun for me to be mad and bitter with this lady for girls camp? Or is it just like an opportunity for me to practice that muscle of like love and, creating boundaries and whatever I want to be. All right. And number 3 is, just like I said, you don't have to earn or deserve anything. You already are worthy and wonderful. So losing weight has no impact on your self-worth. It has no impact on like who you are and what you get to be. Okay. So this is a big shift for a lot of people, and people in marketing don't want you to know this. People in marketing literally want you to be like dependent on their product for you to feel happy. They want you to think that happiness comes at a price tag, because that's how they sell boats and that's how they sell stuff. Okay. Now, the reason I shared this picture is because this looks really dangerous. And we need to, that kind of overlapped. But we need to learn how to celebrate our wins and make it safe to be you and to feel great. And so this is what we're going to be delving into next in July, about the difference between the sympathetic nervous system. So that is that our nervous system has that embedded in us. That is why humans have been so successful. We have lived through pandemics. We've lived through all these different issues. It's because we have this nervous system that is constantly on alert to make sure that if there is any sort of danger in any way, we can have fight, flight, or the freeze response. So that is important. And so when we're going to go do something dangerous, like this picture I have, making sure that you have all the safety gear all attached is really important, because it will maintain your survival. So, before we had police officers and houses and security and all of that, every time we walked out of our cave or our shed or our shack or whatever, we were constantly on alert for danger, because a bear or a bad guy or someone could come and kill us in an instant. Think about the pioneers, right? Just one bad crew of guys coming over the horizon could mean your family is dead or ransacked, or your house could be burned. So you were constantly on guard. But we also have the parasympathetic nervous system, and that restores us back to balance. So that's why sleep is really important. That is why deep breathing is important, to just kind of calm our heart. That is why good nutrition is really important, because when we have really good food, then our body is like fueled in a really healthy way. So we want to have good food. We want to have good sleep. Because when we sleep, our brain is able to finally relax. It's able to be calm. It replenishes itself. It kind of brings us back to balance. Okay. And breathing also, and taking that time and being mindful of saying, oh, this was a trigger when I was a kid, and now I don't need to be triggered by this because I'm an adult and I can make these decisions for myself. All of those things bring us back to safety, and they have that balance of our nervous system knowing that it can be trusted. Okay. All right. So those are the 5 steps that we need to take in order to feel more ourselves, which a lot of you haven't really felt yourself. So why does this work when we do these 5 steps? Well, you discover how you got to where you are. You're like, oh, no wonder I keep putting on weight, or no wonder I haven't lost that weight. And you aren't afraid of taking responsibility for yourself anymore. It also gets you out of the shame blame trap. You're no longer shaming yourself. I'm not good enough. Or you're not blaming your mom or your cousins or your that you lived on the wrong side of the track or you didn't have that right teacher or whatever. You're going to get away from all of that. You're not a moving target anymore. You know who you want to be, and you're going to work towards that. You're going to start living a balanced life. Your thoughts are what create feelings, and the feelings are the fuel for all of the actions you take to get the results in your life. This is not a mystery, but when you hide, distract, and avoid feelings through food, you will keep gaining weight. Perfect. And then your nervous system has been wired since you were a kid to react to a certain way. So when you know that about your nervous system, now you don't feel broken. Now you don't feel so confused. You're like, oh, this system, the fight, flight, and freeze, that lower brain, the nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, that's actually how I'm wired. But I also have a higher brain that can help me do all the good things. And I can restore that balance. It's very exciting. All right. So now these are the skills that you're going to need. You're going to be self-aware without fear of judgment. Isn't that exciting? You don't have to worry about people judging you anymore because you're not judging yourself. You're going to take responsibility for your own actions. You're like, yeah, I'm the one who chose to do that. Huh, interesting. And now you're not beating yourself up. You're just like, you have this new awareness that you're like, okay, I can see that. I can see why that happens. And then the other skill that you're going to need is you're not going to shame yourself saying I'm not good enough anymore or blame others in your life. So I don't need to blame Rochelle for not doing the link. I don't know what happened. And I don't have to shame myself and think, oh, I must not be smart enough to be a life coach because I can't get the proper Zoom code. It's like, I don't need to worry about that anymore. I'm like, well, we'll figure it out afterwards. Like, what was the breakdown? But for now, I can be present and I can be available. Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay, so this slide in terms of, being self-aware without fear of judgment. As I mentioned, we have our granddaughters here this week, and we also have their dog with us. So their dog is a puppy. He's like 8, 9 months old, or maybe 10 months old. But this is really the first time he's stayed at our house. And so we were out for a walk last night with the girls and the dog. And our youngest granddaughter kept wanting to walk him. Well, he's like a 60-pound pit bull lab mix. He's a strong guy. And I was just very uneasy as we, encountered a couple different neighbors and things with having Ava manage him because he's a bit protective of the girls. And so at a certain point I spoke up and I just told my husband, I'm like, you know what? I'm just really uneasy having Ava hold a dog. I really prefer that you, until Jax is comfortable in the neighborhood, that you hold the dog. And so Ava, who was 6, looked at me and she's like, Nana, you are crazy. And I said, why? Why do you think I'm crazy? And she said, because you're so worried. I can manage Jax. And I just was able to look at her, and obviously she's just 6, but I was like, you know what? Yep, then I'm crazy because that's just how I feel about it. And I want everybody to stay safe. And part of my job this week is making sure that I return you and your sister and the dog to your parents all in one piece. And so I was like, and it's interesting because I think in the past, I would not have spoken up and said that. I would have just kept that anxiousness about it inside of me and just not said anything. But yeah, I've reached a point where I'm like, nope, I'm speaking up and I don't really care what anybody else thinks about it. This is how I feel about it. And we're going to keep everybody safe.
And you're responsible for them. And that's how you're going to stay responsible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love it. That's so good. I love it. So that is a skill that you're going to need. And that's the skills that you learn. And that's what Sue has been able to learn. Now, these are the results that you're going to create. So you're going to learn how to be responsible for your own feelings without blaming or shaming yourself. This is something, this is what I call liberated. You are no longer putting your life in other people's hands. So I just got a letter back from Quilt Festival in Houston because I want to be a vendor. And I just got a response saying, "Oh, that's so sweet, but no, thank you." So I can be like, because they're like, this is, I mean, I actually haven't really read the letter yet, but so I can get rejected from something and be like, okay, I'm just going to figure out how I can serve more women. That's fine. I can figure this all out. Like, it's not something about me. All right. So this gives you power. So it can give me power too, to be like, hey, let's get on a phone call. I'm going to talk to you about really what's going on. Like really what my point is. Cause they're like, this is wild. This is crazy. Like we don't do stuff like this. I'm like, well, maybe you should start doing stuff like this. And so now I'm not going to be stressed out about it. And I'm not taking it personally. I'll just be like, actually, if you guys saw what's really going on, you would be like really honored to have me as one of your vendors. Right. So now I don't have to be like falling into the shame or blame thing anymore. It's very liberating. All right. You also break the reliance of food for joy, AKA false pleasure. So now you're not getting distracted all the time by thinking, yeah, but a blizzard would taste really great right now. Or, there is that German cake downstairs. That would give me some pleasure for a moment. Right? And that seriously is like one of my favorite flavors, is like that coconut creamy stuff, right? Then you also you learn to create your own delayed gratification. You look at, it's going to be fun 10 years from now or 5 years from now when I'm going to be a guest speaker at Quilt Market. And they're going to be like knocking down my door saying, we want you to be our keynote or whatever. You're like, yeah, remember that first letter of whatever? Like we just get to create that. That's like true joy. We don't have to be at the mercy or whim of other people. We can just believe in ourselves enough. All right. And now it brings me to trusting yourself. I trust myself to know that I'm in control of food and that I use food for what I want to use it for. And I'm not going to have to worry. So even like this morning when I gained 3 pounds, I'm not stressing out about it because tomorrow I'll be down probably 2, maybe even 3 tomorrow. It's no problem. It's no big deal. And then I've got this self-confidence, because the self-confidence builds here within me. I just get to decide. Okay. So who has questions about this part of the webinar? Who has questions? Anyone? All right. So the next part is how does this become a reality for you? How do you make these kinds of results and these kind of skills just second nature? And then how do you keep building on that? Well, this is how. You learn how to love yourself exactly how you are now. You learn all of it. You learn how to love your quirkiness. You learn how to love those bulges. You learn how to love those wrinkles. You learn how to love all of that. And you learn that when you accept yourself for where you're at, is you learn why you do what you do. And then you're no longer afraid or have fear around food or your feelings. You're like, oh yeah, I'm just a human. I was always given, food when I was sad. Oh, okay, I'm just going to rewire that. Oh, I was always taught that, if someone called me and said they complained about something, I should take it personally. Oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. I did the best I could. I'm doing the best I can. And that's all, that's the most important. Okay. So, oh, here you are, Susan. I mean, Sue. No, Sue. I always have, I do Sue and Susan just to keep you guys straight. So this is Susan and I together in Wisconsin. It was so fun. So lifelong struggle requires, spelling, support without all the pressure. We have put way too much pressure on ourselves to lose weight and to be a certain way. Even women in my program, some of them have plateaued for a while. And one of the main reasons they're just putting so much pressure on themselves. And we got to learn how to relieve that pressure. That's why the month of July, when we talk about the more chill you are, the more success you're going to have. Okay. So my membership is $2,000. And until Wednesday at midnight, I am putting a little bit of pressure on people because, that's sometimes good. You can qualify for my 4 equal payments for those people who haven't joined and who want to join. But what happens is you take out the shame and blame of weight loss and embrace that you can live in your naturally thin body. And just like the parasympathetic nervous system and the higher brain, they want the best for you. The higher brain wants the best for you. It wants you to be at your best self. And so you're going to learn how to do that. So here we have what do customers say? Clients. So Sue said, this program has changed me. Oh, I should have proofread a little bit more. Me more than I ever imagined. Now that I have lost more than 80 pounds, I see how much power I have to be happy in my life. Deirdre said, I was afraid I could never change and felt so hopeless. With the support of the group and the tools, I have much hope, and losing 21 pounds in 6 weeks has never been easier. And Deb, that was fun. I realized that just because I struggled with my weight for more than half my life, weight did not need to define me. I have lost over 70 pounds physically, but the emotional piece is so freeing. So here's my special offer. And so yes, we have the live coaching calls in the week. We have Ask a Coach, where you can ask any question and anonymously, and I will answer those for you. You get all the replays of all the calls and the master courses. You have one of my favorite things ever is the private Facebook group where you're so supported and you're with women that have they've kind of gone through what you've gone through, and you don't have to feel alone anymore. This is probably one of my favorite pictures of me. But I'm ready for your answers. I'm ready for any of your questions. I'm ready for just talking to you and just helping you make that decision. And one of the things about being a weight loss coach and being a life coach is like, my job is to help you to feel good about the decision that you make and to be able to do that on your own. So here is your opportunity to ask any questions. I wanted to not go too over my timeline, even though we started 20 minutes late. No, we didn't start 20 minutes late. We started 20 minutes past the time that originally we thought, but of course this was much better time to start. I actually like it better this way too, because the webinar, you don't see people's faces, but a class I call like this, I get to see your beautiful faces and I feel like connection. So ask me any questions. You can ask me questions about the program, or you can ask any questions about the training. Good question. Okay, so how I teach Kelly about the 4 food groups. Yes. So one of the problems with the 4 food groups and the food pyramid is that it actually wasn't based on science. And it's actually because of that, one of the problems is we have created a obesity problem. So I don't talk about the 4 food groups. I talk, like in our last class, Kelly, we had masterclass fuel or fats fuel, proteins build, and carbs fuel. No, heal. Fats heal, proteins build, and carbs fuel. That's how it goes. So when we do those 3 groups, then you understand what's going on. So I have some menus. I have some recipes. We don't talk about that much, just because we kind of just like, we understand kind of the basics of it. And then I do have a suggested food list. That's all there. And I have some strategies on picking foods and then knowing what foods work best. So we build on our protocol of having these 10 foods and then doing those and then adding, like deleting or changing up. Yeah, there's definitely some suggestions. And I do have a like 6-day menu of things that you could eat, which is like a good baseline that could really help you. Good question. I can avoid snacking unless I have to go do some work in the kitchen around 3. What is a good strategy to avoid snacking when I'm so drawn to it? Well, what do you think, Kristen? Just from everything you've heard from me the last week or so. Trust yourself, but how about just talking to yourself? How about just like figuring it out? Be like, snacking is always a social occasion. So if I need to be snacking right now, I wonder why. What am I lacking? What connection am I missing? I'm feeling like I'm not connecting with, my husband. Why? Like, what is the emotion that I'm wanting to have right now? And so when you start getting inquisitive that way, you can start seeing, it's kind of like when you just pick up your phone and start scrolling on Facebook. It's like you want to be connected with people, but scrolling is not true connection. That's a false pleasure. Like, I want to just feel reassurance. I want to feel like I'm contributing to something. I want to feel like I'm a part of doing good. Right now, especially this past week, with the new announcement about the abortion laws, you can feel it again on social media. It's so divisive, right? It's just there's like so much anger. So it's like, you might want to feel more like love or more connection or more tolerance or more compassion, like whatever that is. And so we use snacking as a way to do any one of these things. But you can't really trust yourself yet. Like, you can work in the process. And that's what we talked about, the building self-confidence is learning to feel any emotion. And then you're able to process that. And then your opinion of yourself is elevated because you've been able to work through that feeling. Yeah, great question. Does anyone have any questions about the 20-pound money back guarantee? So when you join Love Yourself Thin, there is like a guarantee form, and you actually sign it if you choose to sign it. I don't make any, nothing is like mandatory really. You're all grown women, you're all responsible adults. Like, I'm not like I'm not your grade 6 teacher. I don't have, that's not my responsibility. But so basically what you get is when you first join, I have 6 videos that help you set yourself up for success with the program. So you get those right before you even get the modules. And then there's the guarantee success. So there's a few things that you have to do every day to show me if you haven't lost the 20 pounds in 6 weeks and you've done that, then I will give you your money back. So one of the ways that I help you with that is we have weigh-in Wednesdays. So every Wednesday you weigh in and you put your current weight, your starting weight. And so then I can monitor where you're at. And so if you're like at 19 pounds in 6 weeks, I mean, really, truly, you're not even going to want your money back. You're like, yeah, it's like, that's going to happen tomorrow. But it's just an incentive. And it's just and for those people who are a little bit more nervous, it just gives you like, if you do these things, there is no way you can't lose that 20 pounds. It's really helpful. So that's there too, that money back guarantee. And if you're struggling to follow just a few rules of it, that's why we have the group, because it's like, hey ladies, I'm really struggling. I'm hiding. I meant 6 weeks. No, it's 20 pounds in 6 months, 90 days. 20 pounds in 90 days, 3 months. That's what I mean, Krista. Thank you for keeping me straight. 90 days. Yeah. So yeah, but that's why you can go to the group and say, ladies, like, I'm trying to look at myself naked every day and I'm really struggling. Can I get some support? Can I get some help here? What is going on here? I just don't understand it. Or I'm trying to do these thought downloads and it just feels like so silly. I just feel so, not smart, and it just bugs me or whatever. Like you can, and then of course we have the 3 coaching calls a week where you can raise your hand and get coached at any time. One, you can use Ask a Coach every day, all day if you wanted. You would keep me very busy. And I would have no problem with that. That is what I do. That is my job. It is in my best interest that you have the most success possible. 100%. All right. Any other questions? Yeah, July is going to be a blast. It's going to be super fun. August is going to be, they're all great. I look forward to every, I have my year plan right here. I'll show it to you. This is my year plan, everyone. And so I have it all done up and I update it. Oh, this was, yeah. And it's really technical, you guys. But I have all my plans of all the things we're going to be doing, all my podcast episodes, all the monthly focuses, all of it. So fun. So, any other questions? My question is, why wouldn't you join? Honestly. And so if you can answer that, I can help you with that. All right. All right. So Kristen and Arlette would love to welcome you. Linda Smith, we would love to have you in. You kidding? It'd be so great. We miss you. You would be just such a great member, welcome member. Same with you, Kristen and Arlette. So just let me know how I can help you. Does anyone else have any other questions? Linda, do you have any questions? You so happy living in Texas?
I am.
That was a big decision you made.
It was a lot of work. It is a lot of work.
Yeah, but it's worth it, right?
Yeah, it was. It was. Yeah, I had never moved before.
Yeah. 50, how many years were you in that house?
50.
50 years. Amazing. See, you ladies can do things you never imagined you could do.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
awesome. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming. Sorry about all the confusion at the beginning. We're going to figure that out for next time. And like I said, those people who are thinking about it, just welcome and just let me know. I'm here to help you in any way possible. All right. Bye-bye. Yeah, keep praying. You'll know the answer. I think you do know the answer. Just sometimes it takes some courage to step up on it. All right, take care.